I firmly believe that the best car you can have right now is the one without a monthly payment, and it's also cheap to run and cheap to maintain. Another option is used cars, and I don't think this applies to everyone, but used EVs, because the marketplace is flooded with it. But if you have to absolutely buy a new car and you have a frugal mindset, I don't think it gets any better than this Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid. And I think this is the best car for people who are savers because of three things. The first one is the initial price point and what you get. The second is the overall operating cost of this car. And number three, the resale value. Let's first start with the price point and what you get. This is a subcompact SUV, so it's going to be one step smaller than what you normally think of an SUV or a crossover, so like your Toyota RAV4s or Honda CR-Vs or Hyundai Tucsons. In this smaller market segment, you'll find the Hyundai Kona, the Honda HR-V, the Kia Niro, Chevy Trailblazer, and the Subaru Crosstrek, just to name a few. And they'll all start somewhere in the $25,000 range and top out somewhere around the $35,000 mark for the fully loaded versions. The Corolla Cross is in this segment, with the gasoline version starting at the low end and this top trim hybrid XSE somewhere at the very top of the segment, around $35,000 before taxes. Whether you should go with the gasoline or the hybrid model is really just a math problem, but if you plan on owning the car and operating it for a long time, then it's going to be cheaper to run the hybrid. In my example, I found that the break-even point between the two models is 87,500 miles. So if you plan on owning the car for longer than that, then it's better to get the hybrid. And for a lot of people with the frugal mindset, 87,500 miles, that's just barely breaking the car in. Now, what makes the Corolla Cross Hybrid special is that it is both a hybrid and it also has all-wheel drive. Because in this segment, there's a lot of subcompacts that are usually front-wheel drive, some have all-wheel drive, some are hybrids, but there's really not much that are both hybrid and have all-wheel drive. And if you need both of those things, then the marketplace is really just this Corolla Cross Hybrid and the Subaru Crosstrek Hybrid. Another alternative would be the Mazda CX-50 Hybrid, which is more or less a very similar car to this because they're both built in the same Huntsville, Alabama plant, right alongside each other, and they both have the same Toyota hybrid system. But the Mazda CX-50 is really a larger car with a wider track and a longer wheelbase, so that's really in the compact segment. And it also costs more. So really out of those two, the Corolla Cross Hybrid will give the best mileage performance, with the Crosstrek Hybrid being a far second. And the difference in MPG really comes down to the way the all-wheel drive system works. The Subaru has the symmetrical all-wheel drive system, whereas this Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid, just like other Toyota hybrid cars, excluding the trucks now, they all have this on-demand all-wheel drive system. So basically, one of those electric motors is used to power just the rear axle. So the upside is that there is no mechanical drive shaft that ties the front and rear axles together via a transfer case, so you don't get the parasitic inertia and friction losses from those rotating components. So as a result, the miles per gallon is quite high. The downside is that there is no mechanical drive shaft and there is no transfer case to transfer all of that mechanical energy from the engine to the rear axle. So the rear axle of the Corolla Cross Hybrid is only limited to that electric motor. As a result, the miles per gallon rating is really impressive for the Corolla Cross Hybrid. You get 46 miles per gallon in the city, 39 in the highway, and 42 miles per gallon combined. And I have driven this through some very light off-roading trails, and it works just fine. So it really all depends on what your use case is. So if you plan on doing a lot of off-roading, then you're probably better off with the Subaru Crosstrek Hybrid. As for the rest of the car, since this is the XSE model, this is probably as expensive as it gets, and you'll probably see these around the $35,000 mark before taxes. You can save about $4,000 if you go with the stripped down hybrid S trim, or save about $2,700 if you go with the hybrid SE. Price-wise, this is going to be similar to the Crosstrek Hybrid offerings. And with the XSE, you get the larger 10.5-inch screen that has wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. The S or the SE, the screen goes down to 8 inches, but it's really just a downscaled experience, so you're not really losing out on anything other than screen real estate. And then for this one, you also get the larger 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster as opposed to the 7-inch unit, and that has a different presentation altogether. With this XSE trim, you also get heated front seats, heated steering wheel, and also a dual zone automatic climate control. Can you get by without these things? I guess that's really all up to you. As for the second row, since this is a subcompact SUV, this is where you'll find the biggest compromise because this comes with 32 inches of rear legroom. That's a little bit on the tight side. It's okay for me, but if you're like 6 foot tall, you might find it a little bit tiring and claustrophobic very quickly. If you go up one size in the SUV market, like the RAV4 or the CR-V or the Hyundai Tucson, then you're going to find about 6 inches more in the second row, providing a bit more space and more comfort. The same goes for cargo space. You know, the smaller crossover or SUVs, they're going to have a smaller cargo capacity, but typically it's going to be more than the larger sedans. This one has 21.5 cubic feet of space behind the second row, and then fold the second row down and that grows to 44 cubic feet. Now, when it comes to the driving experience, almost everything in the subcompact crossover SUV market is going to be fairly slow and not that exciting to drive. And this Corolla Cross Hybrid, it's par for the course. This one is powered by a 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, and that engine alone is good for 150 horsepower and 139 pound-feet of torque. But because this is the Toyota hybrid system, it also comes with 3 electric motors, one of those motors powering the rear axle. So altogether, this makes a net 196 horsepower, and that's good for a 0 to 60 time of 8 seconds. That's not quick, but it's quicker than the gasoline version, and it's pretty much on par with a lot of commuter cars out there right now. As for the transmission, this uses an eCVT. Now, even though it shares the same letters as a CVT that you'll find from Nissans and Subarus, they are not mechanically the same. This one doesn't use a belt and variable pulley system like those brands do. This one uses a mechanical planetary gear set that is integral to the hybrid system. So without going further into the boring details about the differences between those two, mechanically, they are very different, but dynamic behavior-wise, they are somewhat similar. And when it comes to reliability of these transmissions, these hybrid eCVTs are far superior compared to the traditional belt and pulley CVTs that you find in those other brands, especially the older versions of the CVTs. Now, as for the ride quality, the car rides well and it's pretty comfortable. The amount of road noise can be on the loud side, but you can quickly drown it out with the sound system of the car. And there's also enough creature comforts and tech features in here to make driving pretty livable. I love the available wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, and also the infotainment system is a bit on the quick side. The heated seats are also a nice touch considering that most of the leaves are down and it's getting colder and colder nowadays. So for the price point of $35,000 before taxes, I think this is a fair ask for the features that you get in this car. If you don't need the heated seats, you don't need the heated steering wheel or the dual zone climate control, then you could probably get by with the SE trim and save yourself a couple of bucks. And that brings me to point number 2, which is the operating costs. Right after the cost of the vehicle itself, the operating costs of the vehicle is the second highest cost. So that's the insurance, all the maintenance, all the tires, and also the fuel costs. The insurance is going to vary on a lot of different factors such as gender, age, location. So I think that has a greater bearing compared to a gasoline or a hybrid model. I may be wrong there, so let me know in the comments below. And as far as maintenance, technically it should be lower for these hybrids because the reliability of these things are fairly high. The wear and tear on the braking system should be a little bit lower because you can harvest some of that energy and turn it into electricity via the regenerative braking. But the cost to replace the hybrid battery, if you need to do that, might be the wild card here. Now, there is a 10-year, 150,000 mile hybrid battery warranty, but this system is pretty reliable. Toyota's been at this hybrid game for a very long time. If you don't run into a battery failure, you might just run into a degradation in fuel economy in the very long run. But that point might be far beyond the break-even point, so getting the hybrid might still be more cost-effective. But the biggest contributor to the operating cost is obviously the mileage. The combined miles per gallon of this Corolla Cross Hybrid is 42 miles per gallon, and that is really impressive. Honda's 2-motor hybrid system is also pretty impressive, and if you want to see my review of their 2-motor hybrid system, click the link up here. But again, for this comparison, they don't have a subcompact crossover that is a hybrid that also has all-wheel drive. As for the Corolla Cross gasoline model, that has a combined 30 miles per gallon rating. So doing a very simple analysis here, assuming that insurance, tires, and maintenance costs the same between these two gasoline and hybrid models. And assuming we're comparing between this hybrid XSE and the top-end XLE gasoline model with all-wheel drive, then you're looking at a price difference of about $2,500 out the door. So jumping through the math, which I'll show my work over here, it takes almost 87,500 miles just to break even. And that's because the hybrid costs about 2.9 cents cheaper to operate per mile, which means that if you plan on not driving longer than 87,500 miles, the gasoline model would be the cheaper car to own. But if you plan on driving more than that, then the hybrid becomes cheaper. And finally, point number 3, and I'll be much more quick on this point, is the resale value. If you look at the Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrids in the used car market that are 2 to 3 years old, they are holding their value super well compared to other brands that are 2 to 3 years old. So all things considered, the lower price point of this car and also all of the features that you get for your money and the lower operating costs and also the fairly high resale value are the reasons why the Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid is the best car for someone with a frugal mindset. I want to thank you so much for watching all the way up to this point. My name is Hanson, and this has been the 2026 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid XSE, and I'll see you in the next one.